Amplifiez votre passion pour la guitare pour quelques euros par mois. Rendez-vous sur lachaîneguitare.com. Amplify your passion for the guitar for a few dollars per month. Head over to theguitarchannel.biz. Welcome to the Guitar Channel, welcome to La Chaîne Guitare. I am super happy and super proud to have on the other side of the FaceTime connection the one and only Matt Schofield, live from Florida. Sorry, Matt, how are you doing today?
Yeah, all right, man. Glad to be with you. Thanks for having me on. It's nice to emerge from lockdown for a minute in the virtual world. You know,
yeah.
I've only done one other thing, my friend Jeff McElwain recently, and so it's a strange thing for me. You know, I don't even really like talking on the phone. You know, so like I'm an in-person kind of person. So this is all an adjustment, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. I mean, I've started to do those lockdown interviews since the very end of March, because that was my way as a music media, you know, to keep on building on the link we have with the musician, and to, as I always say, to be part of the solution rather than to be part of the problem. And
sure,
we all know that it's a very difficult situation we are all in at the moment, and that especially for the musician, because they can play, they can do teaching, they can do masterclass, no nothing. So that's my way to help you guys. So
yeah, we appreciate it. You know.
Tell us, what was the immediate impact of the lockdown on your life as a musician?
Well, you know, just as a touring musician, you know, that's my predominant thing, is playing live. So that's just was immediately gone. So this, I mean, I haven't done a gig since with my own band for since the beginning of February now, because I did a little tour in Texas and then had a couple of weeks before we were supposed to go out again in March, you know. Just did a few local things, I think. So then the last gig I even did locally was the first week of March, you know, just playing some blues with some friends. So I haven't not played with other human beings for that long since I started playing, you know. So even just on a conceptual level of getting your head around the fact that that's the way it is it's difficult to process, really, aside from the financial aspect, because that's how I've predominantly made my living. So not to get too bogged down in that stuff, because we all know at this point how that's looking for everybody, you know, and we'll figure out ways around it. But it's definitely, I miss playing, man. You know, I miss the sound of an amp loud, and I miss interacting with other musicians, and you know, the kind of thing that I do. It's not something I can like pick up a guitar right now and like live stream to you. You know, the reason I started playing and how I learned to play was always in an ensemble, you know, together with other people. And even as a kid, when I got my first band together, that was the first thing I did after picking up the guitar, was start a band with my friends in school, and we played every night after school, and we played both weekend days all day, just playing music together. So that's that's the hardest part, you know, aside from the financial difficulties that so many of us are facing. But the hardest part is just missing that creativity together, and then it makes it kind of having to find new motivation. Do you know what I mean? Because the motivation has always been playing music with other people. So it seems to be easier said than done for many of us to actually come up with a way to create something in a totally different environment. You know, it's that feedback from the audience has always been so important to, you know, keeping it going. So.
Yeah. How many concerts were cancelled because of the lockdown?
Oh man, you know, I haven't even counted. I mean, like, in theory, I have. I should have been to Europe and back from here. So I should have done the Northeast US tour. I should have been to 6 countries in the next couple of months.
Okay.
Let's put it that way. So I should have already been to Canada and then the Northeast of the US for dates for a couple of weeks. That would have been at the beginning of last month. Then I should have just come back from Denmark and Germany this past couple of weeks, and then I should be just about on my way to the Netherlands and Germany for some more shows, and then I would be back, and then going to Texas. And so, yeah, it's I don't even know exactly how many shows, but you know, I would know I was going back and forth to Europe every month, and that's not happening now. So
yeah, so basically it is the whole spring and summer season, which is completely shot at the moment for you, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I have gigs on the books for July here in Florida, and I believe we still have a festival in Sweden for June, but I mean, it's a moving target, isn't it? You know, whether those actually happen. I have a feeling that we're not going to be doing very much at all for most of this year. I have to face that kind of reality, and I also just the idea of, you know, I have flown for the last 3 or 4 years. I've flown somewhere either transatlantically or transpacifically pretty much every month somewhere. That's why I get on a plane and I go somewhere for a few days or a week or 2 weeks and then come back, and then I go do that again and do gigs. So in particular, that's just done for a while, isn't it? I'm not going to be flying internationally every month, even if the odd gig comes up. So yeah, that's it. I mean, to talk about the positive side, which I'm trying to embrace as well, you know, because it does allow other things. This is at the same time, this is the longest I haven't played with the band in 29 years. It's also the longest I've slept in the same bed. Certainly for over a decade, you know, like it's the longest me and my girlfriend have actually spent continuously together in our relationship, because I've always gone somewhere, you know. So she was we go back and forth between her place in New York and mine here, but she managed to get out of New York before it hit really badly there, so she's been down here for a couple of months now. So we haven't actually spent 2 months without any travel together ever, and so we still like each other, so that's good.
That's good. Knock on wood.
There somewhere. You know, so things like that, it's actually pretty nice, you know, and so I try and see the plus side.
What were the adaptation you made to your work as a musician? Are you composing a lot, or working on your guitar?
Yeah, I've been messing around. I mean, I've been finishing a record for 2 years now, my own new record. We actually recorded all the basic tracks 2 years ago in May, so 2 years ago this month, actually, and then we did a few more recordings in August. And then I kind of sat on it for a while and, you know, wanted to work on the lyrics and other ideas for it, you know, and with me, it's like half the time I'm like, this sounds, I'm really happy with this. And then, you know, the next week I'm like, this sucks, I hate it. You know, that's just the way it goes for me. So anyway, I'd finally got it just the end of last year, beginning of this year. Everything's sung, you know, because a lot of the album we just played as a band in the room. I've always done that, but then I like to live with it for a bit. But I finally got everything, all the lyrics finished in collaboration with Christine, my girlfriend, and Jay Stallman, my friend, who also manages me, and he's a singer-songwriter, you know, so we were working on that. And so then we were like deciding who and how we were going to mix it, and getting stuck into that, and then this started. So again, that even prevents you getting together with someone else in a studio. I've never mixed anything. I've always been present for the mixing of a record and involved in it, but I'm not an engineer, so I've always had somebody else doing that bit, and I tell them how I might want it to be, or they try something and I'm like, yes, that's great, you know. So I set up this little home studio that I'm talking to you from now just by pure chance. I thought it would be really useful to have something like that so I can get more things done at home, you know. So I set that up just by chance before all this hit. So now I'm sort of doing a self-crash course in engineering so that I can perhaps have a go at mixing the record myself in the meantime. Good. So I'm playing around with that. So it's just like another slowing down of the finishing the process.
It would be another 2 years before you're done.
But you know, then of course I go down the rabbit hole of, well, I want to get this right, and I want to mix it. And I want to know how to make it sound how I want it to sound. I have that idea in my head, but the technicalities of that is a whole different thing. So I've been kind of working on that, and then there's a couple of other things in the pipeline as well. You know, as I mentioned, Jay my good mate and manager, we've got like a half finished record we were doing for him that we're kind of going to finish doing, because there's basic tracks for that, and now I can record my guitar here at home on that. And a long talked about project with Christine, who perhaps in the last couple of years have seen my gig may have seen a guest in with me as a vocalist. So we've wanted to do something. So trying to figure out how we could get some tracks done and work on that. So again, to look at things on the positive side, hopefully we'll come out of this with a bunch of new stuff that we can then take back to the road. That's the way I'm trying to look at it. And perhaps my records are like, as we'd say, London buses, that you wait hours and hours for one, and then three come along at once. Yeah. That might be me with the records. But it's a balance of that and motivation. Because again, it's always driven. Creativity for me is always driven by the interactions with other musicians that I enjoy playing with. So it's trying to learn a new way to go to think about it. So I've been listening to lots of music, just listening, not like doing stuff with music on, but actually sitting down and going through my small but growing vinyl collection, and I got my turntable really dialed in and just putting on a record and listening to both sides of it from start to finish in the evening, and trying to be inspired in the way that I used to be when I was a kid, and that was enough, to just listen to music, because it's so many so much information coming at you these days, and it's nice to actually sit down and just listen. And
what is the favorite vinyl you listened to recently?
Well, I managed to get all the Hendrix records. Okay. So I've been, because they sound so right on vinyl, and I also got the ZZ Top box set, which is the really nicely remastered first few records of ZZ Top, which people are always surprised to find out that Billy Gibbons and those early ZZ Top records, one of my biggest influences. It's not what you immediately think of when you hear my music, but in terms of phrasing and guitar tone, and he was really important. So they sound so good. There's this box set called Cinco. And it's the first 5
and so they did it again especially for vinyl, because I do remember when they released what they call the 6-pack or something like that for CD.
Horrible.
Yeah, and they added reverb on the drums and stuff like that. So the one you're talking about was remixed or remastered completely?
It was remastered from the analog tapes, and they've done a really nice job, and it's
interesting.
On the heavyweight vinyl, and everything's clean and just big and fat sounding, and it just, again, they're those early records, they just sound right on the vinyl like that. So that, and just my usual stuff, some Oscar Peterson and some Miles, and I was like, okay, I need to get Stevie Wonder as well. So I've got Innovision's Songs in the Key of Life and Talking Book, all on vinyl these days. I mean, it's a fairly recent thing for me getting back into that. And I was actually tape generation. My dad had vinyl records, and I would copy his vinyl onto cassettes. Yeah. So I've been slowly stocking up my vinyl just before this whole thing hit. So that's kind of nice to actually have the time to sit down and really listen to it. So that's again, good. Another positive, that kind of thing, and which you often don't have time to do when you're on the run.
Yes, definitely. We are starting to have some questions on the Facebook feed. So there is one from Dennis Miller. Matt, before To Rock, Free the Tone, and Matt Professor, what did you acquire? What did you use to acquire the tone you are very known for?
Before To Rock and that kind of thing. Well, basically, my first couple of records I had one guitar, which was my original 61 Strat that I still have.
Okay.
Right there next to me as we speak. Now we have some
guitar porn. That's cool.
So this guitar I've had 20 years, and so I was the only guitar I had really when I made my first couple of records, and that was through a 1964 Fender Super Reverb, an original one, which was the only amp I had, and so I didn't have. In fact, I've never had loads of stuff. and they were quality, not quantity. So, and I used a pedal called the Menatone Red Snapper. So my first couple of records were with that, and then I got the SOV pedal. Got to know those guys. But I have a Super Reverb over in the corner over there in a pile of amps, and that's a 66 that I keep here. The 64 still in the UK. And I can happily do the gig. Occasionally I just take that out, and it's you can't go wrong with an old blackface Fender that's well tuned. It's like having a vintage car. You got to change the oil, put fresh tires on it and stuff. But other than that, they just the Two Rocks are really the only thing that have come along that can give me what I get from them and something else. So get an old Fender amp. They're not even as expensive as a lot of boutique amps. So and a good guitar. So it was just that simple. Even back then, 2003, I made my first live record. I'm just gonna put this guitar down.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much about gear then. Now, like, as the internet's gone on, it's become so gear fueled, and I like nice stuff, of course, but really it was like, I got a good guitar and a good amp, let's make a record. That was not enough to make music with, so in some ways I've carried on for there, just picking up stuff along the way, really.
But still, then, I think I saw you each year. I'm going to the Winter NAMM, and I think we briefly say hi this year at the Winter NAMM. So did you go to the Winter NAMM mostly to talk with people, to interact with other musicians, or do you keep your eye open for new gear?
I never look at any. I go to see my friends who make gear that I use, but who I maybe only see once a year there, So I very rarely go and check out any other booths. I'm just, first of all, there's no, for me, I can't get any idea of how things actually sound at the show. Again, it all goes back to using stuff in the context of making music with other people as a band. For me, that's so I don't. Yeah, I typically go round in circles at the NAMM show between the Two Rock booths, because Eli and Mac, the owners of the company, are a couple of my best friends in the world. And then I go over to the Mad Professor booth. Harry and Marco are really great friends of mine. And then I go to JJ Guitars, my friend Jeff Guilford from the UK, who I have a couple of guitars of his, and we always have a good laugh. And Vemure and pedals from Tokyo. They're great guys who've been responsible for me getting to go and do concerts in Japan. So it's like I basically just go and hang out with friends. I like to say I've drunk a beer with everybody that makes everything from my strings to my speakers. Okay.
So a lot of beer to drink when you go to Winter NAMM then.
Well, I think that's what everybody's doing, isn't it?
We have a great question from Calder, who is asking, what's your songwriting process?
Oh man, I wish I had one, and then maybe it'd be easier. That's the hardest thing for me. I don't have a process. I see what I can. It could be anything, It could be a title of a tune, and then I flesh it out. Lyrics are the hardest thing for me, and this new album, a lot of the stuff I've written has either been with Jay or with Christine, and they've come forward with an idea or fleshed out just a title of mine lyrically. And with music, it might be, I might go, okay, I want something with this groove, because my stuff's like always one foot in the traditional blues, but hopefully with a twist most of the time. So my rule, I suppose, is if the groove is traditional, say like a shuffle or something, or a slow blues, then I might mess with the changes a bit and see if I can put a little twist in instead of it being a 12 bar. Or if it's a 12 bar or a 3-chord kind of blues, then I mess with groove just so it's not a traditional shuffle or something like that. So that's a little bit of, I guess, my goal behind it. So I try and keep those things in mind. But other than that, I might be walking down the street and I hear the riff, or I might be playing guitar for all day and finally come up with something. You know, it's just comes from all kinds of places. You know?
And how do you know that the song is finished and it is ready to be recorded? And
oh God, you don't. In fact,
don't?
The thing is that they're never finished really,
Okay.
and now that's always been the weird thing about making a record of new songs and then going out on tour and playing them is, you know, sometimes on the record it's basically the first time you've ever played the song. And it would be great to do it the other way around and tour all new songs for a year and then just go in and record them. And maybe I'll try that one day. But it seems that once you get a record out, then you play mostly those songs. And especially with these days with, you know, everybody filming gigs and YouTube and stuff like that, it's like releasing your new songs on your new record is really all you've got. You're not going to make any money from it. So all you've got for making a record is it being new. You know? So I feel like I don't want to give it away because they'll be all over YouTube a bunch. And then the only thing that the record is, only value it has to people is that stuff they haven't heard before. So yeah, it's funny because like now there's versions of stuff that I've been doing, songs from 10 years ago, that they're way better than I think. There's like, oh, that's what I meant it to be in the beginning, but you can't get there without just playing stuff for a long time or with certain songs.
We have someone in the chat room who is actually checking the video feed, and it is Richard. And he's saying that what's the story with the Firebird in the background? I don't think I ever saw it before. So, here we go.
Man, that's a cool guitar. I'll grab it.
Yeah.
And this will be the only appearance of me in shorts ever in the world.
That's the beauty of the live broadcast on the internet, Matt, right? You are so happy about that, yes.
It's also the beauty of living in Florida, where it's like 85 degrees right now, 85 in your money. So this is a guitar by my friend Doug Cower. I always go and catch up with at NAMM. It's exactly the kind of thing we're talking about. Or he'll come out to my gigs in California. So yeah, I've known Doug from him. He would come to my gigs, and then actually would often run into him at the Montreal Guitar Show during the Montreal Jazz Festival, where we last spoke. And so this is one of his pre-lawsuit Banshees.
Yeah, the Banshee model.
But this is it's a Firebird. And actually Gibson got mad at him and made him change it. And he did an incredible job with the second version. He's changed every line on the guitar, but it still looks like it's supposed to look. It doesn't look weird, you know? So it's really cool. It's really light. It's all Spanish cedar. It's in this iris mist color. Great sounding mini humbuckers. And I love it. It's such a great sounding guitar.
But you use it in the studio only, never live?
Yeah, and I use it on local gigs. The problem with it is it's really hard to travel with. In fact,
because it's a longer...
Here's the thing. The case is the length of a bass case. So it's like, you know, got this crazy big headstock and stuff. And so I use it locally. I'll take it out for... you know, when I'm not on the road, we have a Tuesday gig here in the town where I live, and we just get together with whoever's in town and play some blues, you know, with myself and Jane. So I'll take it to that kind of thing. But I mean, I wish I had, you know, a big trailer behind a big tour bus that I could put all the gear and get in and drive around the country with all the things I wanted to take. But for me,
Joe
most of the
Bonamassa
time,
style.
What's that?
Joe Bonamassa style.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I only have probably a fifth of the number of guitars, if that, probably 100th of the guitars. But, you know, to be able to take 2 or 3 different things would be nice, you know. But most of the time it's me getting on a plane with a guitar on my back, you know, and either shipping my amp in advance of the tour or playing backline. Or Two Rock are really great about... with their local distributor network, wherever I am in the world, I can go and you grab a two-rock from the local shop that sells them or distributor. So it's me and a guitar, and I think you probably see I just got my little pedal board on the side here because I've been doing some messing about with got my two-rock here and the aux from Universal Audio. So
the aux box, yes, okay.
Yeah, that's been incredible for me, because I don't have, like Olympic Studios or something to put my cabinet in. Okay. So that's it's the next best thing. It really is. You wouldn't know. So that's my pedal board. It's tiny, my guitar, and off I go to my gig. So these things, unfortunately, I'd love to say, let's take the Banshee out for this tour. But,
I remember when we did an interview in Montreal at a Montreal Jazz Festival. It was in 2016. And I think you just arrived from the drive from Florida to Montreal.
That's right. I drove all the way.
Yeah, and I was surprised. Oh my God, this is Matt Schofield. And I thought he was maybe not a private jet, but at least flying. But no, you drove all the way from Florida to Montreal, and God knows it's a longer road.
By myself, and the guys in my band had some other gigs on, and so then they flew in. I picked them up in Newark in the van. And we carried on together from Aaron took over the driving, I think, from Newark to Montreal, that's rock and roll, man. It's not what people think. Yeah. And, I talk about this increasingly, not to say, oh, poor me, because I'm very lucky to do what I love to do. It's not about that. But I think people are surprised that for the most of us, it isn't what they would expect. It's just when they've... and certainly like with this lack of concerts happening now, it really is bad for a lot. I'm lucky to have a very good support network, and I'm lucky to have my TrueFire courses. Yeah,
let's talk about that. So what can we find the TrueFire course who you have online?
TrueFire is the I think they're the biggest online lesson company in the world now, and I've done a couple of courses for them in the last year and a half that have been really well received. I'm really proud of them, and I tried to come up with a sort of method of teaching, taking you through how I view it, that is hopefully useful to everyone at any stage of their playing, so it's conceptual. It's not licks. I'm not showing you where to put your fingers or any of that kind of stuff. It's more about how you can even get the most out of what you know already and the things to focus on. So I've done a couple of courses for those guys. And I mean, just TrueFire in general, they've just been great to work with. They're saving the day for many of us financially right now, because that is, like, I don't own the rights to my old records, most of them. So I don't really see anything from records that I don't sell at gigs, like the actual hard copy. But, and we all know that Spotify, that kind of stuff is worth nothing. So TrueFire have been really cool. They've gone to monthly instead of quarterly payments to the artists. So, man, their catalog, you got Robin Ford, you got Larry Carlton, you got Tommy Emmanuel, you got, like some of the best players in the world doing courses, and then great teachers. My friend Jeff McElwain, and Josh Smith's got one, Kurt Fletcher's got one. So if you're not familiar with them, go check out, because if we're all sat at home, but that's the place for getting lessons together, So,
yeah, and if people want to support you in that weird times we are going through, they should go to TrueFire. That's
absolutely. That's it for me, And my girlfriend, to say, she's a professional singer. She doesn't have records or things like that out, so she's completely lost all her income. So I am us now, in terms of that kind of thing, and so that does help out in a big way for us. And it's great content. I feel I'm really proud of it. I got 2 new ones coming out soon. We got a rhythm course and a thing called In the Jam, where it's me and my most recent touring band. We did the tracks, and you'll be able to mix them. You
jam
can
with remove the guitar.
You take me out and play with the band, or you can. It's got like a little mixer, Or if you're a bass player, you can take
great.
Tim, my bass player. You can turn him off and play his lines. So that's really cool. That's like the newest one's coming out. So maybe that might be a couple of months away for the new ones. I was one of the last people to actually get in their studio and do them before they had to shut down. So they're doing it all from home as well now, so it's we'll see. But yeah, TrueFire's where it's at, man.
Excellent. We have a question from Alexi. He's asking, you just mentioned Kirk Fletcher and Josh Smith. Any chance that you guys would record, do an album together with Kirk and Josh?
Yeah, actually, we've only been talking about it for about 5 years.
Okay.
Maybe if I put it out there, and actually, man, when was it? Probably about 6 months ago. We have a little group message thing that we have going that we chat away on now and again, and so for about 5 years we've talked about doing like a Three Kings record where we each pick a track each. So there's three of us. We pick one track each from Albert, BB, and Freddie King.
Nice.
So that gives us 9 tracks between the three of us, and then we do one Albert Collins tune at the end. So we've talked about this for ages, and it's funny you should mention that because we were sending each other some videos the other night, and I thought maybe we can do this remotely now. Maybe it's a good one to use our time for, because Josh has a studio there, so maybe if he can get a couple of his great rhythm section friends over to lay down the basic track. You know, we'd all rather do these things live in a room. That's the feel, but needs less, you know. So perhaps that's the next best thing. So one day there will be the Three Kings, or the Three Princes as it got called.
Okay. Nice.
When we went, I think Josh came up with that. So we did it in Japan, you know, a couple of years ago, all three of us with one rhythm section, and we all played,
nice,
you know, a little set each.
Cool.
And then we all played together, you know. So there's definitely plenty of guitar playing involved in that. So.
You know what? The funny thing that I think it was last week, I did a lockdown interview with Tomo Fujita, and of course at one point in time we talked about you. So tell us about your story with Tomo Fujita, how you met him and how you jam together sometimes.
Well, he's another NAMM show meeting, actually. You know, like I say, it's more about connecting with people than gear for me there. So he I think we'd heard of each other online. This is about 10 years ago now. I remember the first time I went to the show, I think. And they bumped into his Eminence booth. I'm like, hey, man, you know, so we just been friends ever since. We knew of each other, and then we finally met, and we kept in touch. And I think just after that, I was going to be going through Boston with my band on tour. So I said, hey, man, come out and play. And so he played the first time I ever played in Boston, and I think he sat in every time we've gone through since. And then he came to London and did, I haven't done one in a few years now, but I would do like a weekend guitar workshop.
Yeah, he talked about that, and it was, I think, the first time he came to the UK to teach, right?
Yeah. So he was my guest at one of those. And, you know, I have to give Tomo credit, coming off talking about TrueFire, watching him teach in those environments really gave me an insight in how I could teach as well, you know? So he was... He I would say, informed what a great teacher can do for me. You know what I mean? So it wasn't so much the exact thing he was talking about, but how he went and, because he unpeeled the layers of the onion, so to speak, you know, like bit by bit, to get the core of what the student would need to do. And I'd never looked at things like that because, honestly, I just kind of played, you know, so I never examined things that much. So then it makes it hard to teach because you're like, well, you just do this.
Yeah, like, and it happens, and the magic happens like that, you know.
But that's not a good teacher. So, a lot of the stuff that you'll find in my TrueFire courses, I learn how to teach from watching Tomo teach, you know. So I always like to give him credit for that. I'm a much better teacher because I've watched him teach. So, you know.
Okay, that's good. We have some nice testimony on the chat room. People are saying that your TrueFire material is really amazing. So people are actually recommending that. So
I'm proud of it, and I'm really happy it's been so well received. You know?
That's excellent. And it was a lot of fun to talk with Tomo Fujita, and he said exactly that when you invited him to your UK guitar camp, you were actually playing, and he was doing, you were doing the playing, he was doing the explaining and trying to deconstruct everything. It was a very good chemistry between you guys, It
was great. Stuff I'd never thought about, you know. So I just did, and he's like, you got to see what's happening there. So it's very cool. Yeah,
that's cool. Excellent. So what are the next project you can talk about for the rest of the year? So we have hopefully this album. Will it be released before the end of the year, you think? Or
yeah, I hope
that's
so.
the
I
idea?
mean, it should have been out just about now.
Mhm.
You know, it's like we were all set to get together and mix it and stuff. You know, so yeah, it will. And then it becomes a matter of, you know, because European agents, I mean, say my gigs that would have been this month in Holland rescheduled till next May.
Mhm.
So like we've got to look at the best time and way to release it now, so that, because again, the original model of releasing an album would be it comes out and you have a bunch of tour dates almost immediately to promote it. So I don't want to like waste the release of the record and not be able to go and play it, you know, because but perhaps that's just what we have to do now, is not worry too much and just give people some new content, and then it won't be maybe next year till we get to come and play it for them. So
actually, we have a question.
The whole thing affects everything, you know.
Yeah. We have a question from Larry Lambert at the moment, and he's actually saying, okay, can I pre-order the unmade album? That would be a way to get some money now before the album is released.
Yeah,
like a crowdfunding mechanism.
You know what? And perhaps that's what we'll do, because I'm going to have to then, even once I've hopefully done an all right job of mixing it myself, get it mastered professionally, and I want to get it done on vinyl from the person who's mastered my last couple of records, Mandy Parnell in the UK there with Simon Law, who's engineered stuff with me, also makes the SVL guitars that I play, but me and Simon go way back. You know, at some point I'm gonna send it to them and do a proper vinyl lathe mastering and stuff, which all costs money, you know. So I hadn't wanted to go that route of crowdfunding this record because I just wanted to own it 100%, and that's been another reason it's taken a minute, because I've been like, go out on tour, come back, get some more studio time, have sing a couple of songs, go back out on tour, earn a bit more money, pay a bit more to do that, you know. So have been doing it like that, and I you know, the initial costs were covered by a benefactor who wanted to support the project. So I had some small but generous funding like that, you know. So yeah, maybe we'll look at that when it's sort of closer to the time when it's ready to go. Do you know what I mean? And then we can, if it costs whatever it costs to get it pressed, we'll do as a pre-order. You know, I just don't want to take people's money and then have them hanging on even longer as I procrastinate over this thing, which is what happens. So, and as it's bad enough for the benefactor who was kind enough to do that, and that was a couple of years ago, and so I owe him the record as much as anybody.
Okay. Matt, it was really super awesome to be able to have you on the show. So thank you again very much for your time for doing this lockdown interview.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's nice to talk to some different faces. You know? Yeah,
and hopefully next time we will be able to do a guitar in hand interview when I am somewhere in the US, in Canada, or if you ever come to Paris, to France, right?
Man, I hope we get to. I should have just been in Canada, and you know, I used to spend so much time up there, and I miss it, man. I should have just been there. And Montreal Jazz Festival is still my favorite gig that I ever get to do. So hopefully, hopefully be in France, because man, I don't have a French agent anymore. So if there's any French booking agents,
the call is out. Yeah,
I used to be coming a couple of times a year, and I haven't been in probably a decade to France. So,
you have a huge following over here in France. So
no one books me. I never get any offers. You know. So,
that's a shame. That's a shame.
So hope maybe this is the reset we need, and then we can all come back.
Exactly, and then from now on, we will only come to play to France when you come to Europe, right?
Exactly.
If people want to follow you, where do they go online? Give us again your website address and everything.
mattschofield.com. That's Schofield with an H, SCHO. A lot of people miss the H. Matt Schofield Music on Facebook and Instagram, and you know, that stuff. And TrueFire, you know, go to the TrueFire website and you can check out incredible lessons for everyone. So those are the places.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much for all the people who have been watching this. If you want to have some some more Matt Schofield, head over to theguitarchannel.biz. I have, I think, 2 interviews with you. One we did in Paris, like in 2014, I think.
That was the last time I came to France, yeah.
Yeah, so 6 years ago. So
and it wasn't even for a gig, it was just for the album.
For the promotion, yeah. And I was there. So hopefully next time I will be there too, and we need to do something about you coming more to France, that's for sure.
Let's do it.
All right. Thank you again very much for your time, Matt. Stay home, stay safe, and stay productive, right?
Absolutely. Cheers, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Pour le prix d'un magazine, abonnez-vous à la chaîne Guitare pour accéder aux vidéos intégrales. For the price of a magazine, subscribe to the Guitar channel to access the full videos.